Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto build harem with Kushina Fem Kyuubi and Fem Shinigami Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto just woke up and knew something was wrong. One, he couldn't feel his body. He felt like he was dead. Naruto looked around and noticed that he was very close to the floor. Standing up, he noticed that nothing about how close he was to the ground changed. He tried to look at his hand and was shocked to see a yellow paw. Miyuki was watching Naruto move around and couldn't help but to giggle at the look on his face when he saw the paw. "What's going on?" Naruto said, noticing Miyuki. "I turned you into a full kitsune." Miyuki said. Damn girls and doing as they please." Naruto mumbled. "What was that?" Miyuki said dangerously. "Nothing. Nothing at all. Can you change me back? I can't make you a Hanyu again if that's what you mean. Look, Yuki has a human form. I'm asking if you can let me go to my human form." "Oh, of course. You have to do it though. It's really simple. Push some chakra to your brain. Imagine yourself changing from a fox to the human form you had and then pull the chakra that went to your brain back through your body." Naruto's face scrunched up and he began to pant. Then he glowed and his body reformed but without clothes. It was then that Anko came in. "Naruto, hello," Anko said, blushing. Anko just stared at Naruto, not there but more at his face and upper body, while stealing glances further down but mainly looking at his face. Naruto blushed slightly. Miyuki just giggled. "What was it you needed, Anko?" Miyuki said. "Meat, I mean Naruto." Yuki said she finished making some breakfast for us. Anko said. Anko walked out the door and Miyuki broke out in full-blown laughter. "This isn't funny. You didn't say I had to imagine the clothes as well." Naruto said. "Though it was assumed." Miyuki said as Naruto rummaged for some clothes. He finally settled on an red kimono that had gold edges. It was his more expensive kimonos, but it was also one of the kimonos he had that was the most comfortable. He walked out and sat at the table with a blushing Anko. "Not to be rude, but why are you here, Anko?" Naruto said as Yuki put his beef ramen in front of him. "I can't visit my new friends," Anko said with a pout, finally getting her sense back. "Sure you can. You just need to knock on doors next time," Naruto said with a smile. "I didn't know you'd be," Anko shouted as Miyuki walked down. "Neither did I," Naruto responded. "Let me guess. You forgot to tell Naruto he had to imagine the clothes as well," Yuki said. "Yup," Miyuki said with a smile. Anko and Naruto continued to argue back and forth, both smiling. "So Naruto, you heard of the Chunin exams?" Anko said. "Yeah, Yuki told me about them. She said that they nearly spelt Minato Namikaze's death." Naruto said. "Well, they've spelt many people's death. They are harsh, and many people either go insane or die. My Chunin exams, we all were tossed into snow country and were told to find one another in there, get a scroll from that team and find our way to the capital. My team barely made it. Some of the teams that made it lost limbs from frostbite, or other incidents. One team came back screaming about the end of the world was coming. That team was locked up. It's a harsh experience. They are in Konoha this year. You think you're ready?" Anko said. "I don't know," Naruto said. Miyuki got a big grin on her face. "I'll just have to make sure you two are," Miyuki said. Naruto shivered. "I'll even help." "Well, I can't train you, but I can help with poison immunities," Anko said, pulling out many vials of poison. "Where does she keep those?" Naruto thought. "I can test their ability to hide their scent," Sum said, walking in the door. "So since when did my house become meeting place for everyone?" Naruto asked. "Well, I was coming over wondering if you wanted to have some fun," Sum said with a pout. "Hey, I'm having fun with him first," Yuki shouted. "I'm just going to leave now," Anko said, standing slowly. Naruto reached up and grabbed her coat. "Don't leave. They'll destroy my sore body if you do," Naruto said. Anko sat back down. Oh Naruto. Yuki said. Yes Yuki. I heard that. Yuki said with a smile, and both Sume and her grabbed Naruto and dragged him off. At first his look was pleading, but then he remembered what they were talking about and a grin came to his face. Anko saw the smile and sighed. Miyuki just laughed. Anko, let's talk, Miyuki said, holding her hand out to Anko. Anko hesitantly took it. The two left the house and went out. When they were out they saw Zabuza and Akai training, while Haku was planting some medicinal herbs. The two sat down on the porch. Anko. What is wrong? Nothing. You can help me with. Anko. I can help with more than you think. I need to handle it myself. How very Orochimaru of you. Only I can do this, no one else. Miyuki said in Orochimaru's voice. Don't compare me to him. Anko growled. You are acting like you are alone in whatever is going on with you. I am alone. No one wants to be near the snake whore, or the snake bitch. No one wanted to have anything to do with the demon, too. Naruto knows what it is like to be alone. Yet he has moved on from it. Despite his age, he is vastly more mature than the so-called elders of this village. I know he had it hard, but he had it for less time. You were very rarely attacked physically cause you could protect yourself. Miyuki said, standing. Think about what you want. Wallow in despair or take the chance Naruto is giving you. You don't think Naruto was that worried about Sume and Yuki, do you? He was asking you to stay and be his friend. He wants your friendship. You can understand his pain more than Yuki, or Sume. One day soon you will come to Naruto and cry on his shoulder. He'll dry your tears and replace them with smiles and laughter. Miyuki said and left Anko to her thoughts. Could he? Anko thought. Akai and Zabuza stopped training and had gone to assist Haku in planting, and the three were laughing. From a distance Haku watched them, and she could see herself with Naruto and Yuki doing that. She smiled at the thought. Anko stood and decided to go for a walk. She walked through the village. As she passed the Inuzuka compound she saw Hana chasing Kiba, while Kurenai laughed. Kurenai turned to Anko, seeing her out of the corner of her eyes, and waved. Anko smiled and waved back. Anko continued on. As she walked she saw the angry glares of those who don't like her. She walked till she was back at the Forest of Death. For once she saw it as not a home, but as a place she lives in. She remembered something the fourth told her long ago. Flashback. Little Anko. Why are you always so mad? The fourth said, picking her up and placing her on his lap. They hate me. Anko said, putting her head on his shoulder. I don't. Kushina doesn't. Jiraiya doesn't. Sarutobi doesn't. They destroy my home. Little Anko. Tell me, where do you feel safest? Where are you happy to go every day? I'm happy to visit you and Kushina. I feel safe with you. Little Anko. When I was a child my father told me, a house is not a home if you aren't proud to go there. Come live with Kushina and myself. Kushina is pregnant and I can't be home to take care of her all the time. I want you to help her, okay? Does that sound nice? Living with Kushina and myself? Yes. Anko jumped from tree to tree. If there was anyone around they'd see a sight no one had ever seen before. Anko was crying. She jumped whispering, Pops. I need you now more than ever. Why did you lie to me? Flashback. Minato was coughing up blood as Anko sat next to him. The Kyuubi had been sealed and Minato was slowly dying. Pops. Anko cried into his chest. Shush little Anko. It'll be okay. What'll I do without you? How will I make it alone? Anko cried. You won't go a day without me. I shall always be there with you. When you cry mine and Kushina's arms shall be wrapped around you. Cough, you know I had always wanted a son and a daughter. You told me before. And for the short time I had you and Naruto in my arms, those were the happiest moments in my life. Before everything fell apart. That shining moment of happiness. It's all gone now. Because of that Kyuubi. Anko spat. Don't call her that. Kyuubi told me something as I was sealing her. You know what she said? What? I didn't want this. I didn't want mother and father to die. I didn't want to kill. Why? Why did you order their deaths? She roared at me. I looked her in the eye and told her I ordered nothing. I would never harm a kitsune. One of my friends was a kitsune. She smiled at me and said I know. That was me. Minato, my friend, I'm glad that in the end it was you to stop me. Minato said, and then he went into a coughing fit. When it was over, Minato looked at Anko. Little Anko, I don't have much longer. Never forget I love you, and I will always be here for you. Minato's hand glowed, and with the blood on his face he made a small insignia on Anko's face. When you need me the most, remember this mark and trace it on your cheek. Cough, Minato said, and his hand dropped down. His eyes went blank. Anko cried out in despair. She remained crying for her adoptive father. When she had cried all her tears, she wrapped her arms around Minato. Tucking her hands under his knees and neck, she lifted him. She began the trek back to the village. Upon entering the village, she was first met by a chorus of cheers for the Hokage's victory. When the villagers and ninjas saw Minato's face, they wept openly. 3 days later, graveyard. Anko, dressed in black, took the stand. She looked out at the gathered assembly of people. With a shuddering sigh, she began. Am I Minato Namikaze? You once said a man puts up many fronts in his life, but it is upon his death he shows who he truly is. You were a hero through and through. From the moment you woke every day, you saved someone. You saved me. You saved Sarutobi. You saved Kushina. You saved even those undeserving of being saved. That was the sort of man you were. You wanted to help as many people as you could. Minato Namikaze, you were many things to many people. You were a teacher, a storyteller, the Hokage, a protector, a husband, a friend, an adoptive brother, but most of all, you treated all of us like family. You were our father. Minato Namikaze, Pops, it's only been 3 days since your death, but to me it has felt like an eternity. Every night I go to bed and hope that the next day you will be back, and all this would have been a sick dream, and every morning I know that was a foolish dream. Minato Namikaze, forever you'll live on in my heart. Anko said, and she stepped down from the stand. She then walked over to his casket. It was open and there lay Minato. She reached into her black suit and put a small little box. She opened it and pulled out a small white flower. She placed it directly over his heart, and she turned away and left. End flashback. Anko jumped into her room, and traced the insignia on her cheek. The blood Minato had placed on her cheek reappeared. The blood moved out of her cheek and seemed to expand and grow in the amount there was. The blood formed a figure. Soon Minato's face reappeared on top of the bloody figure. Hello little Anko. Pops. She called and ran to hug him, not caring about the blood getting on her. Now then, my child, what do you need? Minato said. Anko told Minato all about what was bothering her. Minato smiled at the whole Naruto, Yuki and Sume thing. I agree with this, Miyuki. You are acting very Orochimaru-like. I know what Orochimaru did to you hurt, but it is time you moved on. Think about it. I made you happy. My son can make you happier. What's the problem with going for it? Minato said. He's too young. You are younger than Yuki, or Sume. He's like my brother. There's no blood there. He reminds me of you. Then he is damn handsome. Minato said with a laugh. I don't know, Pops. Anko said. Give him a chance. Take him on a test date. If it goes well, ride him all you want. If not, be his friend. Simple as that. Minato said and laughed at Anko's blush. Why do you have to say it like that? 'Cause it's funny to make little Anko blush. Minato said, and the blood figure disappeared, as did Minato. Damn him and his perversion. With Naruto. Naruto yawned as he stretched. He turned to his sides and saw both Yuki and Sume's bare backs. He gave each of their backsides a squeeze. The two girls yelped and woke up. Oh Naruto. Yuki said, turning to face him. Yes. Naruto said, and his mouth was enveloped in a kiss by Yuki. Kurenai's and Naruto's mistake. One that is irreversible. Later in the day, Sume sat in front of Miyuki as she held a sword. The sword had a wolfskin hilt and a long white tooth-like blade. This is Howling Wolves. Only a kitsune of pure heart, and one with a strict loyalty to the leader of kitsune, in this case Naruto, and Yuki can wield her. She will treat you well, but be warned she can be a pain to deal with. Miyuki said. Thank you Lady Miyuki. Sume said with a bow. Now go. I'm sure you wish to see just what she can do. She will reveal her attacks to you if she deems you worthy of using her. Miyuki said. Sume turned on her heel and left the small room inside of the Kakenin compound. Miyuki moved her way to the window and looked down upon Naruto and Yuki. The two were wrestling and laughing with one another. A small smile formed on her lips. Naruto looked up and for a brief second the two's eyes met, before Naruto waved at her to come down. Miyuki made her way down with a laugh. When she came down, Naruto and Yuki were facing one another, swords drawn. The smile on Miyuki's face quickly disappeared. Lady Miyuki, you said you'd train us. Can we get a bit in before Naruto has to go on his date? Yuki said. Sure. Now the style differs for each sword's form. Now, the first form I will teach you a style for it is the scythe form. Miyuki said as her sword turned into a scythe. Both Yuki and Naruto did the same. A few hours later, the crouching tiger. Naruto was sitting next to Anko. Naruto wore a formal black kimono. The kimono had gold trimmings and on the back was a small red kitsune. His hair had flattened itself and now was in a small ponytail in the back. Anko on the other side wore a purple kimono. It had similar trimmings and was plain. She wore her hair down, and had two snake earrings. Around her neck was a small pendant. The pair looked at one another for a while before Naruto spoke. So Anko, tell me what made you suddenly ask for a date? Well, I started liking you while we were spending time on our way home. After a while I realized you made me feel something I hadn't felt since Minato died. I wanted to be near you but I didn't feel I deserved you. It wasn't until Miyuki spoke to me that I realized I needed to do something. So here I am, Anko said, drinking her sake. So Miyuki convinced you. Why didn't you feel you deserved me? Well, it's silly considering what you went through, but my bastard of an old sensei screwed me over. Hurt me. Destroyed everything I was. I began to walk a path of self-sacrificing. It wasn't until Minato brought me into his household did I start waking up. Then he died and I was alone. Alone with the glares. People said I caused Minato's death. That if I wasn't there Minato would have been able to survive the Kyuubi. It was hard, and once again I drew back. Anko. You poor idiot. Of course you deserve love. Everyone does. Naruto said, standing. Come, let's dance. He said and held out his arm. The two stood and moved out to the dance floor. The two danced with a grace only two trained killers could have. Each step perfectly placed so as to move to the next. Their bodies contorting to fit the others. After a while of dancing, Anko leaned into Naruto and kissed him. He returned the kiss. Naruto slipped his tongue into her mouth. The kiss dragged on for a while until Anko pulled back. Naruto. I'm sorry, but I can't go this fast. Anko said and she turned and left Naruto on the dance floor alone. Anko ran straight home, curled herself into a ball and wept. Naruto sighed and began his walk home. When he got home he immediately assaulted by questions. How'd it go? Miyuki asked over and over. She's hurting. So much hurt. I wish I could help her, but she won't let me. Naruto said, sitting on the couch in his house. Miyuki turned to leave. I wish I could help, but I don't have no Anko well enough. Miyuki said and left. Naruto sat there thinking for a good hour. The time was now around 10 and Naruto was preparing to go to bed. There was a knock on the door. Naruto moved to answer the door. When he opened it there was a crying Kurenai. Kurenai, what's wrong? Hana and we got in a fight. I couldn't think of someone to go to. I kept thinking of you. Here I am. Kurenai said. Come in, Naruto. You know what is going to happen if you don't tell her to leave. Yuki came into his thoughts. I won't press her. I'll get her out before anything happens. Naruto responded. Fine. Even though I'm okay with her joining. Just don't do anything you might regret. Yuki said and cut the connection. Kurenai entered Naruto's house. The two sat on the couch in the living room. What happened? Naruto asked. I don't know. Hana and we never fight. She and I were making dinner for Sum and Kiba, when we started fighting. She asked me about who was distracting my thoughts so much. I told her it was nothing. That it meant nothing. Hana said it wasn't nothing. I yelled back screaming that maybe it was the bastard she slept with. She denied it. I told her I saw her. The argument escalated, and Kurenai said but was interrupted by Naruto grabbing her and putting her head on his shoulder. Shish. Naruto said and allowed her to cry once more on his shoulder. When she stopped, she looked up into his eyes and moved forward, capturing his lips in hers. Naruto suddenly pulled back. Kurenai. Stop, we shouldn't. What would Hana think? The two got dressed. Kurenai slept on the couch while Naruto slept in his bed next to Yuki. The next morning, Naruto awoke to yelling. He went downstairs to find Kurenai and Hana yelling. You two. This is my house, I'm not going to have you two fighting inside it. Be mindful that others are in this compound. We have neighbors. Now what the hell is going on? Naruto yelled. Why don't you tell me why your mate Mark is on Kurenai? Hana yelled. We made it, is that hard to understand? She's my girlfriend. She said you broke up. Does that matter? We just did. Or is it your normal tradition to screw helpless women? Kurenai was not helpless. I asked if she was okay with it, she said she was. I wouldn't have done it if she didn't want it. Naruto said. Shut up. It's not like we did what you did to her. You cheated on her. You hurt her. Maybe now you'll feel what she felt. Naruto yelled back. Hana ran out the door, slamming it behind her. Warned you. Yuki said from the couch. I'm sorry that you had to wake up to that, Naruto. Hey, what kind of mate would I be if I allowed one of my mates to be yelled at like that? Miyuki came walking down. Come you two. Time for training. Only 12 days till the Chunin exams after all, and so much more to learn. Miyuki said, and the three went to the training grounds. Fight to the death. A devastating kick. The falling Sakura blossom. Slash. One last thing. Don't die. Anko shouted as the gates unleashed the genin into the forest. Each team in a hurry to hunt down their opponents. Naruto's team, having superior smell, knew exactly where the teams were and had planned according to their routes. Shikamaru would capture the team and Kiba and Naruto would knock the team out. Naruto wore his standard clothes, but there were two swords on his waist. Yuki sat in his coat. Shit. Heaven scroll. Kiba said, seeing that the team had the same one as them. Keep it. The more scrolls we have, the less teams can pass. Naruto said as they left that team to the forest. So it went for 2 days that Naruto's team collected many scrolls. When they reached the tower, they were surprised to see Choji, Hinata, and Ino entering the tower. Naruto and his team followed suit. 3 days later, after the Hokage's speech, Hinata Hyuga vs. Kankuro no Subaku, the screen lit up. Both Hinata and Kankuro jumped down, both wearing similar grins. Hayate jumped backward onto one of the railings and shouted out. Begin. Hinata slipped into her stance. First thing Naruto noticed was that she wasn't in the standard Juken stance. She has her stance wrong. Naruto spoke. Trust my student. She knows what she's doing. Asuma said. Hinata disappeared into nothingness and suddenly a voice rang out. Devastating palm. Hinata spoke. There was the sound of breaking wood and Kankuro's body turned to wood. The puppet on his back dropped. The wrapping untied themselves and there was Kankuro standing completely fine. Oh man. I hate brats that hit that hard. Kankuro said and moved his fingers. The chunks of wood lifted and small knives appeared everywhere from them. Die. He shouted and each knife moved at Hinata. Rotation. She called, hoping to knock them away, but Kankuro held them in place when they met the sphere. When she stopped spinning, Kankuro moved once again. Hinata dodged backward. With a grunt, one knife connected with her arm. It's over, brat. Kankuro said. Hinata dropped to one knee, panting. It was only one knife. Why is she panting? Ino yelled. Can't you smell it? Kankuro's knives are laced with poison. Kiba said. Hinata poofed away into mud. Devastating palm. Came the whisper from behind Kankuro. Kankuro was tossed into the wall, cracking it. Kankuro turned himself out of the wall. Nice shot, you brat. Kankuro smiled as he brought one hand down and wrapped his chakra strings around several chunks of wall. He lifted them upward and began tossing them at Hinata. Hinata ran forward and used each section of wall as a springboard. She jumped over Kankuro and dived. One last section of wall rose to meet her. Hinata placed both hands in front of her and shouted. Corkscrew rotation. And Hinata began to spin. She broke through the section of wall and smacked straight into Kankuro, tearing him apart, or that's what she thought. Sections of Kankuro's shirt went flying. Kankuro appeared panting, 4 feet from Hinata. His shirt completely missing. Suddenly Hinata was wrapped up by arms. I'll break every bone but your neck. Kankuro said, and Hinata's arms bent backward, snapping at angles. Rotation, she called, blowing back the puppet once more. You don't know when to quit, do you? Kankuro said once again, throwing knives at her. Nope. Hinata said as the knives entered her body. Hinata's form dropped to the floor. Call the match proctor. She won't stand up again. Kankuro said, recollecting the sections of his puppet. Winner Kankuro no. Hayate began as once again Hinata disappeared into mud. Kankuro shouted out as he felt a kick to his back, followed by his own blood flowing down his back. There stood Hinata with blood on her foot. Kankuro collapsed with a foot-sized hole in his back. The hole didn't go too deep, just deep enough to expose bone. Winner. Hinata Hyuga. Hayate shouted and Hinata fainted. The arena erupted into clapping. Everyone in the room was shocked by the level of skill the two had shown. Medics came and collected the unconscious genin, as Anbu cleaned up the arena. The screen cycled through names once more. Sakura Haruno vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Aw man, I was hoping for a good fight. Kiba shouted, jumping down. As was I, Sakura said, taking her stance. Her feet close together and her fists at her waists. Begin, Hayate shouted. Sakura disappeared and reappeared in front of Kiba. She launched a punch that Kiba dodged. Her fist collided with the ground and caused a small hole. Oh, looks like you've been training. Too bad this will end here. Kiba said, tossing a pill to Akamaru. Akamaru turned into another Kiba, and both jumped up and began to spin. Gatsuga. Kiba shouted, and the two spiraling forms charged at Sakura. She dodged the first one, but she had to jump to avoid the second. Then the two spiraling forms collided with either side of her body. With a screech, blood washed over the field. Sakura had been split in half by their attack. Shit. Kiba said, stopping his rotation. I don't understand. He's done that to me before, and I didn't split in half. Naruto said. It doesn't split you in half, because unlike Sakura you work out. Sakura was using chakra to enhance her punches. She had no muscle definition. So when Kiba's attack connected with her, it met with no resistance, and tore through her. Hana explained. Kiba was freaking out seeing the blood on him. Gaara was smiling. We winner Kiba Inuzuka. Hayate stuttered out solemnly. Naruto jumped down and helped Kiba walk up the stairs. Kiba collapsed on the wall staring at his hands. Hana ran to him and began to speak to him. The screen lit up once more. Rock Lee vs. 10-10. Yosh. Let's go 10-10. Lee said, jumping down. 10-10 followed suit. Begin. 10-10 started throwing kunai at Lee as he dodged them as he ran up to her. When he neared her, she dodged back. Lee pressed forward with another punch. 10-10 knocked it upward. Lee moved the other fist to collide with her. 10-10 blocked it with her arm. Both genin smiled as Lee kicked at her. 10-10 brought up her leg to block but was a second late as Lee's leg connected with 10-10's side, throwing her sideways. She skidded against the wall. Guy sensei. 10-10 called. Go ahead. Guy said with a smile. 10-10 unzipped her coat, revealing a black undershirt. She tossed the coat, which landed with a thud. She again began to throw kunai, ones that Lee barely could dodge. Once again they were locked. This time when the kick came 10-10 blocked it. You're good 10-10, Lee said and headbutted her. Her neck cracked backward and smacked against the wall causing her to bleed from the rubble cutting her face. 10-10, Lee yelled seeing her passing out. One of 10-10's arms lashed out, and the kunai in her hand cut open Lee's chest. Lee began to bleed as 10-10 passed out. Winner Rock Lee, Hayate called. Yush. My students fought a youthful battle. Guy yelled. The screen lit up. Tamari vs. Gaara. I forfeit, Tamari said. Winner by forfeit Gaara, Hayate said. Ino vs. Shino. The battle did not last long, as Shino quickly drained Ino's chakra. Winner Shino, Hayate called yawning. Shikamaru vs. Choji. I forfeit, Choji called. Oh come on. Winner by forfeit Shikamaru, Hayate said pouting. Sasuke Uchiha vs. Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke Uchiha vs. Naruto Uzumaki. The final contestants had been called, and the two-leaf genin jumped down to the arena. Naruto dressed in his standard Inuzuka coat and two swords on his side. One of the swords had a crown on the hilt, the other had a dragon head. Sasuke on the other hand wore a blue shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back and white shorts. He too wore a sword with a dragon hilt. Naruto's eyes locked onto his sword as his sword's majestic booming voice rang out in his mind. That sword Naruto. That is my wayward brother. Raging Doragon said. I thought all the spirit swords were with Lady Shinigami. No, some of us went different ways. Gurindo Doragon was one of them. He was always my equal in every way. He'll destroy you if he even had the slightest advantage in strength. It's okay, I have Yuki with me. Nothing can stop us. Don't be so sure. Begin. Hayate shouted out. The two genin drew their sword and rushed one another. The blades caught on one another. Naruto's blade was glinting in the light, while Sasuke's blade seemed to suck the light out of the area. With a growl Sasuke jumped back as Naruto called out. Raging Doragon. Moru. A streak of fire escaped Naruto's blade and went forward in the direction of Sasuke. Sasuke ducked downward to avoid the line of fire. As his face neared the ground, Yuki appeared in front of him and she in turn opened her mouth releasing a stream of fire. Sasuke attempted to roll away but could not stop himself from being burned. Half Sasuke's right sleeve was burned off. Sasuke failed to notice Naruto going through hand signs until Naruto called out. Ice style. Demonic ice mirrors. Mirrors of ice appeared all around Sasuke. Naruto entered the mirrors with a smile. Thank you Haku. This is over Sasuke. You can't escape. Surrender. Naruto said. It's not over yet. Sasuke yelled as he went through hand signs. Fire style. Grand Fireball. Sasuke called unleashing his jutsu at the mirrors. With a smirk Sasuke was sure he had beaten Naruto's jutsu, but was surprised when he felt a kunai enter his right arm. When the steam from the two jutsus cleared Sasuke saw the mirrors standing without the faintest sign of his jutsu. That won't work here Sasuke. Naruto said. Gurindo Doragon. Horu. Sasuke called and his body disappeared into the ground. His body reformed outside next to Yuki. With a yelp Yuki jumped backward hoping to get away. She was a second too late as Sasuke's foot came around and landed on the small white fox. She called out in pain as Sasuke began to crush her. Yuki. Naruto screamed hearing her call out. Sasuke just sneered and pushed harder. There was a crack as Yuki's paws snapped. Naruto visibly got angrier as his hair changed from its normal yellow spiky to ice blue and straight. Sasuke Uchiha. If you know what's good for you, you will get your foot off of Yuki. Naruto snarled. Sasuke smiled. Surrender Naruto Uzumaki. Surrender or I kill her. Sasuke said pointing his blade at Yuki. Naruto growled. A chunk of ice shot out at Sasuke clipping his hand and ripping Gurindo Doragon from his hand. Another chunk came forward and ripped into Sasuke's foot releasing Yuki from his grasp. With a yelp she managed to walk on her broken feet to her partner. Naruto picked her up and placed her back in his coat. I'll kill you. Sasuke shouted out as he ran forward. When Sasuke reached Naruto, Sasuke's blade was deflected by Naruto's. Naruto spun around, kicking Sasuke in the stomach. As Sasuke began to get knocked back, Naruto swung his blade back, knocking once more into Gurendo Doragon. With a clang, both blades were knocked out from the genin hands. All was silent on the field for a second until Sasuke collapsed, a deep gash in his arm. Naruto bent to one knee, breathing heavily as small cuts appeared on his face. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Hayate called as medics ran to retrieve Sasuke. Naruto quietly made his way back up the stairs. Kiba ran to Naruto and placed a hand on him. Hana just looked at Naruto and growled. Kurenai on the other hand grabbed Naruto and pulled him into a hug. Yuki had long since passed out. Hayate called out one last time. Neji Hyuga, you didn't have to fight, and so you have a free pass. Everyone please step forward and collect your straws to determine your fighting order. He said. Everyone did so and their order was determined. Neji Hyuga vs. Hinata Hyuga. Shikamaru Nara vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Rock Lee vs. Gaara. Naruto vs. Shino. Round 1 winner vs. Round 2 winner. Round 3 winner vs. Round 4 winner. Round 5 vs. Round 6. With a wave, the Hokage dismissed the teams. Naruto and Kurenai ran home to the Kokunin compound. Upon entering, they saw a confused Miyuki. Why are you in your partial state, Naruto? Miyuki asked. It's Yuki. She got hurt, Naruto said, lifting the unconscious Yuki from his hood. Miyuki ran forward and collected the small kitsune in her arms. She laid the kitsune on a couch as she began to heal her. Who did this? Miyuki asked. Sasuke Uchiha. I see, Miyuki said calmly. How can you be so relaxed? She got hurt. She's a kitsune guardian. They get hurt a lot. But she's your friend, I thought. Kurenai called out. Don't you dare. Besides, in the scheme of things, this isn't too bad. Miyuki said. It isn't bad. Her legs are broken. She can't train with Naruto. She can't walk anymore. Heck, who knows what else was broken because of the Uchiha's boot. Kurenai called. Actually, I do know. She has 4 broken ribs, several bones are broken in her feet. Sadly, she will be out of the fight for quite some time. Miyuki said. A knock came on the Kokunin door. Naruto moved to answer it. When the door opened, he found a cat-masked Anbu at his door. The Hokage calls for you. The Anbu said and disappeared. I have to go. I expect her to be conscious when I get back. Naruto said, and he in turn disappeared. The council room that night. Naruto entered the room last. With a sigh, he made his way over to his chair and sat down next to Shikaku Nara and Sume Inuzuka. You are all here to discuss the results of the primaries of the Chunin exams. You were all there in your own way, so please give me your thoughts. The Hokage said. A pink-haired civilian council woman stepped forward. The woman's eyes were puffy and it was evident that she had just been crying. If I may, I believe that the genin who caused my daughter's death should be punished. Watch your mouth. Kiba Inuzuka fought like a ninja, unlike Sakura Haruno. Naruto spoke out. What was that? The woman responded. I'm saying that from the start of the match she was outmatched. It is unfortunate that she died, but there is no one to blame but herself. Watch what you say, brat. The fact comes down to if Kiba Inuzuka hadn't used that jutsu, she wouldn't have died. That is true, but I have been hit by that exact move and I still stand. You know why? I actually train. Sakura doesn't. She was too busy fawning over Sasuke Uchiha to put a minute into her training. You should be glad she died here rather than out on a mission. Care to elaborate, you little shit? Of course I will. If Sakura Haruno had gone on any missions in which she fought a ninja of any worth, she would have been killed. That is the truth. The more likely situation, though, is that she would have been bound, gagged and raped. When the ninja were finished with her, she'd be killed. At least she died with a ninja's respect. At least she died quickly and without that horror. The truth is she had no idea what being a ninja meant, and it is fitting that she die before she caused anyone trouble. Naruto said. That is a narrow-minded view, Lord Kokunin. Shikaku said. I'm just pointing out the worst-case scenario. And trust me, Sakura Haruno was always the worst-case scenario in every aspect. You don't even know her. She was a sweet girl. Her mother called. I am not questioning that. She may be sweet, but she shouldn't have been a ninja. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to comment on a different fight. Naruto said. There will be no consequences for Kiba Inuzuka. I think seeing a girl die because of him is punishment enough. The Hokage said. Forgive me, Lord Kokunin, but I do want to talk about my daughter's fight. Hiashi said. I actually do too. I was sure she was going to lose. Naruto said. As was I. Hiashi said. I guess it's true, you can't judge her by her looks. I thought she would crumble at the first obstacle, but to see her kick the living shit out of the sand ninja was quite a fun change. Naruto said. It's not surprising, knowing who her sensei is. Shikaku said. No, that's not it. You can have the best sensei in the world, but if you don't train, then it means nothing. We must put the respect for such a wonderful fight on Hinata Hyuga herself, and not on Asuma Sarutobi. Sum said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Hiashi said with a smile. I must say, Lord Hyuga, you must be very proud of her. Naruto said. I am. Hiashi said. Now then, I'd like to talk about the level of strength Lord Uchiha showed in the matches. A civilian said. Yes, he did well, but not well enough. Inoichi said with a smile. It's hard to fight against a demon like him. The same civilian responded, growling. Now name calling isn't nice. Inoichi said jokingly. I'll call that shit what I want. The demon brutally assaulted Lord Uchiha, and nearly killed him. Frankly, I believe that shit should die along with all those in love with him. Sum growled in response. Hi. Sitting right here. Naruto said. I know you are. I didn't say anything I wouldn't say to your face, you shit. Oh, I know. It's sad that you civilians don't realize what I do to protect you. If it were up to you, we would be dead. The civilians shouted out. So I was going home today and I saw this nice bar, was wondering if you'd want to go there after this. Naruto said, looking at the Inoshika Cho trio. Pay attention to us, damn it. Why would you want to be with us? You never tried to before. Inoichi said. Oi. Well, I've been making rounds with the ninja clans. Getting to know the clan heads. I must say Shibi is quite fun to be with once you get past the stoic side of him. You promised you wouldn't discuss that night, Naruto. Shibi said bitterly. The civilian sighed angrily, stood and left the room. The Hokage was fine with this as he was fine with the. I won't. I just think you would enjoy spending time with me some more. I never said I don't enjoy it. It's just that I don't enjoy explaining to Kyoko why my undergarments are on the fan. At this point, the other clan heads' jaws were on the floor. I'm pretty sure if you just said I was over, she'd understand. Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head. That would enlighten many other things that had happened those nights. Stop. Shikaku said. What's wrong? Shibi responded. Why don't we all just go out right now? I mean, the meeting is concluded, seeing as the civilian side is gone and the Hokage is just reading. So why not? Hiashi said. The clan heads all nodded and stood. Leaving the council rooms, none of them were prepared for the night ahead of them. Shikaku's morning. Shikaku groaned as his eyes opened. With a stretch, Shikaku cleared his eyes and took in the sight of the room. His mind immediately began to whirl as he realized he wasn't in his room. There was a slight groan from the spot next to me. Troublesome. Please be my wife. Please be my wife. Shikaku repeated over and over in his mind, as he turned towards the source of the sound. He looked upon the soft sleeping face of Yugao Azuki. With a jump, Shikaku left the bed and quietly ran to the door to the small apartment. Opening it, but then closing it softly, realizing it is not fair to leave her there with no notice. Shikaku Nara wrote her a small note before slipping into the darkness of early morning. Come see me. We have much to discuss. Shikaku Nara. Shibi's morning. Shibi awoke to the faint smell of vomit, blood, and alcohol. Shaking his head as he sat upward, he sighed. Damn it, Naruto, he thought to himself. His eyes took in the state of the bathroom he was in. Vomit stained the floors and the walls. By the toilet it was evident that someone had gotten injured from the antics of the night before. Sighing, Shibi turned to leave to see the furious eyes of his wife. Hi. Shibi stuttered. You're cleaning it up, his wife said and turned to leave. Inoichi's morning. Inoichi was not a morning person, so when he awoke to a scream he was downright pissed. That is until he saw that it was Ino screaming and that he was sleeping on the couch. That would have been fine for Inoichi, but no, he also had whipped cream on parts of his body, and had a rose tattooed on his chest. Hiyashi's morning. Hiyashi awoke calmly as he was trained to do. His pride and joy eyes took in the wonders of his lavish room. All was fine for Hiyashi until he noticed one thing different about his room. A note on his bedside table. Hiyashi opened the note carefully and took in what it said, twice. Hiyashi Hyuga, it is with great reluctance I write this note to you. It appears that last night Hinata Hyuga disappeared after coming to see you. We have sent the side branch house to look, and even some of the main branch have begun to hunt. We expect to find her soon, but have had no success as of yet. Shin Hyuga. Chuza's morning. Chuza awoke in his bed much like every other night. No notice of the last few hours were evident except the headache, and the several nail marks on his body. Naruto's morning. Naruto awoke to see Sume Inuzuka laying on him snoring. With a smile Naruto got her off him and placed her next to him. When he placed her though, a small groan came from next to him. With a slight yelp Naruto turned to see who was next to him. Sleeping next to Naruto was Kurenai Yuhi. Another smile graced Naruto's face as he moved Sume once more. Out of the corner of his eye Naruto saw his door open and Miyuki came in. She smiled at Naruto and waved him to come see her. Sume's morning. Sume awoke suddenly feeling something on her leg. With a growl she turned to see who it was, and there was the legs of Kurenai Yuhi in her face. Looking down she saw Kurenai Yuhi face first in Sume's crouch and slightly snoring, causing Sume to blush, and wonder how exactly they ended up like this.